Bon, et Madame CRISTINA AGUILERA SANDOVAL, c'est un monde qui a bataille pour droits immigrants depuis quelque temps.
Mrs. CRISTINA AGUILERA SANDOVAL is someone who's been fighting for immigrant rights for a long time.
Et certainement, nous t'ai croisé dans l'organisation de MIRA, Massachusetts Immigrant Refugee Advocacy Coalition.
We met at MIRA, the organisation dans Massachusetts qui travaille avec, qui fait une coalition immigrants avec réfugiés.
Mais il faut nous dire que pendant nous te mettez annonce pour première rencontre task force là jeudi passé.
I need to tell you that when we scheduled the first meeting last Thursday,
it is true that I sent some. C'est vrai que nous t'ai envoyé 2-3 lettres dans bureau gouverneur avec dans parlement.
It is true that I sent some letters to the governor's office and to the parliament.
State House. Madame Aguilera, joint on lettre li rapidement.
Mrs. Aguilera found a letter and she called me right away.
Elle finit de demander pour le rencontrer avec nous.
And she asked to meet with us.
Il t'a insisté pour le rencontrer avec nous même jour.
She insisted on meeting with us last week, the same day.
But we wanted to give nous besoin assez de temps pour le capable non seulement venir parler pour nous poser questions avec un représentant ou bien représentation communautaire solide.
We wanted to give her enough time to get ready and also to give us enough time for us to have a better representation here at the meeting.
C'est avec plaisir nous inviter Madame CRISTINA AGUILERA. En juin, il joue une position.
All right, but to clarify, I'm here as an immigrant myself. I'm originally from Venezuela. My name is Cristina Aguilera. Thank you all for having me. How's everybody doing tonight?
Pour clarifier pour nous, moi-même tous sont immigrants, moi c'est Cristina Aguilera.
And, I'm an organizer at heart. I've worked with the immigrant community, as Carlene says. We've known each other for 13 years with making sure, and Pastor Kiki as well, making sure that our immigrant communities are at the table at many of the tables where the decisions are made for our communities.
Moi-même, tout c'est un monde qui participe dans la communauté, dans l'organisation, et rôle moi c'est pour assurer moi que la communauté immigrante est placée tout sous table là, côté décision à faire, qu'on est pas ce qui, qu'on est travailler avec plusieurs monde.
And as we have been faced, hi City Council, as our city has been faced and our state has been faced with a real influx of beautiful immigrants that have decided to choose Massachusetts as their home, I myself and another two very well-known activists and leaders and for immigrants in our state were appointed by our administration and Governor Healey to send a strong and loud message that I will let her translate. You want me to repeat?
Il y a un peu de monde dans la zone noire, dans Massachusetts. Il y a un peu de monde qui choisit, un peu d'immigrants, communauté immigrante de tous côtés qui choisit pour y les zones ici à la Caillou.
I'll let you translate. I'm sorry. And it is with the understanding that we needed out of this office leadership that can work not just in the resettlement of refugees, but in the support of all immigrants, bringing parity between the services and the opportunities that are provided to refugees and to immigrants all across the state, regardless of their immigration status.
Et nous venons comprendre que nous avons besoin d'un bureau pour travailler avec les réfugiés, mais pas seulement réfugiés, avec tout immigrant, quel que soit le statut dans la zone.
So I'm really glad that you are all decided to have all decided to get organized. I know there are many groups and many organizations and many community leaders, and that is critical. And that's why as soon as I received the email that Caroline sent out through government, I called her and was like, I can be there right now. I can go there right now. Let me go there right now. And I insisted many times because the crisis is happening right now. There's no time to waste. We need all hands on deck in supporting with humanity and dignity every single immigrant that is coming to our state, regardless of where they're coming from, their immigration status. We need to welcome them, and the state has a very big system right now to try to support them, but we have to remember that we are in the middle of a very massive housing crisis.
C'est ça que fait le Caroline de recevoir l'aide Caroline là, je réponds même côté là. Moi dis m'a venir kounya parce que et crise là la passé kounya dans moment ça, donc nous besoin en réponse. Nous besoin pour tout le monde mettre main ensemble. Moi content pour moi que il y a plusieurs leaders dans la communauté, il y a plusieurs organisations qui décident de mettre main ensemble pour nous travailler dans la crise là. Mon Dieu cap venir, yo mérité pour yo et traiter avec humanité, quel que soit côté au sorti et quel que soit statut immigration yo gagne dans pays.
And when a housing crisis that is impacting every single one of us in one way or another,
and pour nous dire que l'État Massachusetts nous gagne une crise question logement dans la zone boisite là. Et crise ça les affecté nous toutes qui vivons là.
When that is matched with record numbers of immigrants coming to our state, that many families who are actually eligible for our shelter system and housing, then it really creates a situation that we're calling a humanitarian crisis, because we are very much aware that every single family deserves to have what they're eligible for and to be treated with dignity and respect. But the reality is housing is a very, very critical issue right now.
Nous avons toute masse de gens qui viennent en seul pour la zone qui tout le monde besoin de housing. Donc, il y a un problème pour les gens qui ont déjà besoin de housing pour rejoindre la housing. So, nous comprenons que ça vient pour une proportion crise, de tourner une crise humanitaire.
Now, our state has been committed to addressing this and making it a priority.
L'État ici là prend engagement pour adresser problème là et pour le faire en priorité.
And this is something that I've seen in the last month that I've been holding this position. I've only been in this position for a month. And it's been really inspiring to see how all across the different secretaries of government and all the way up, there are people at the table every single day, from housing, from health and human services, from the governor's office, from every single relevant cabinet to solve this crisis, looking for solutions, looking for both solutions in the long term, in the mid-term, and the immediate term, which is where do we place families tonight?
Tout secrétaire d'État dans la zone, tout le monde est ensemble chaque jour. Depuis moi, ça me fait un job ça. Tout le monde est ensemble, pour réfléchir pour voir qui j'ai une réponse à la crise qui gagne.
So this, what we're calling the incident command of individuals from different levels of government and that are all dedicated to working on this. And one of my roles as the director of the Office for Refugees and Immigrants is to make sure that not only do we work with them to support all the cultural competence and ensure that families are supported in their language, but also it is to connect with organizations that work with immigrants and to every single one of you so that we can join forces in thinking about creative solutions and figuring out how can we use our own networks to support the families. Because right now, it's not about what the media can post. It's not about what the who did what and what they did, and it's not a me and you game. It's really like how can we resolve the crisis that we have in front of our face every single day, every single hour, and in the long run.
So yon nan rôle mwen c'est pas seulement pour m'assurer que communauté immigrant yo gen service qui est compétent culturellement, manger, etc. Mais yon nan rôle mwen c'est chita avec nous toute communauté, organisation communautaire ça yo en façon pour nous capables de gérer crise ça qui gagne et crise ça qui gagne que n'a vivre chaque heure, chaque minute, chaque seconde tout côté nous passe.
And this is very close to my heart. I'm originally, as I mentioned, from Venezuela. Last year, the Martha's Vineyard folks were all Venezuelans, and they went through a lot of the similar things that Haitian communities are going through right now in terms of housing mainly and dealing with the crisis. And you could speak with any Venezuelan in the state, and they were involved in one way or another, whether it was bringing food from their restaurants for free to make sure that they felt welcome by that, to organizing their churches, to hosting them in their house. And I know that this is what every single one of you has done with the Haitian community, and it's not new. It's been for month and month. I know how hard Pastor Kiki has worked in all of this, Dr. Gabo, and so many of you, Carlene. And I know that this is a crisis that you see at the door of your organizations every day. So working together will really make us stronger here.
C'est une cause qui tout près qu'aime parce que tant que j'en dis nous moi-même tout c'est un immigrant qui sorti Venezuela. Année passée, majorité monde qui allé dans Cape Cod, c'était vénézuélien et là ça c'était même genre affaire là, tu gain toute organisation monde pour te manger ba moun yo, l'église yo, tout monde te mettait tête ensemble pour yo aider faire moun yo senti yo accueilli yo bien dans zone là. So c'est même genre on connaît tout nous même tout n'a fait tout possible nous et toute organisation on connaît et AFAB pasteur qui me connaît tout le monde a essayé pour mettre tête ensemble pour faire travail.
So, I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can, as I have the answer to, but I'm also happy to walk you through the current process of how we are trying to serve, again, the mid and the long term and the immediate crisis that we're facing. Would that be helpful?
M'ta aimé pour m'ta content répondre question nous gagne yo dans mesure que m'ta capable mais comme ça tout m'ta content tout pour m'ka et faire parcours là avec nous pour expliquer yo qui ça qu'a fait pour répondre à question. Est-ce que ça t'a aidé?
Let's start with the sources. When we have families that the sources at this point, as you all might know, are usually hospitals, right? We have Boston Medical Center where families arrive. We have sometimes the airport. When they come to your own organizations, most of the time you all are kind and resourceful enough to be able to serve them, and therefore they don't go through our path. But the majority of the time they're coming through hospitals, and then they show up, and then the hospitals inform us what is happening, how many families they have every day. This is a daily operation. This is Monday to Sunday, every day. It's a daily operation where we check in on how many families we've been informed that are coming from the Boston Medical Center or from the other hospitals or sometimes from the airport.
Puisque la fini nous désirons réunion finir à 8 heures, nous sommes conscients de ça et nous allons demander aux gens qui ont des questions sur ça nous avons parlé tout à l'heure. Est-ce que nous voulons affablir pour nous, bien est-ce que nous voulons poser des questions nous-mêmes? Pardon? Ok, eh bien on commence premier monde.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you said you're looking for organizations that can help facilitate these families, you know, and work in those hotels to host them, right? So, which is good. The question that I have a lot of questions, but I'll keep it to one. The question that I have is, I have Hispanic organizations calling me and other organizations calling me, telling me that they're receiving grants to serve the Haitian community and they don't know where to start. While we do have Haitian organizations all over Massachusetts that are not receiving grants to work with the migrants. So I want to know where the disconnect is. At the Clarion Hotel in Taunton, Mass, for the past 2 months, myself, Tracy, raise your hand, Ronaldo, raise your hand. We form a coalition. We've been working for the last 2 months. We've been breathing, eating, sleeping Haitian migrants at that hotel. And we've been working, doing a lot of work there. Of course, there's a lot of gatekeeping as well. So I need to know where the disconnect is. Do we need to provide you all these organizations' names and their capacities so that they can step up and receive those grants to work? Because we need to provide cultural sensitive services as well to those migrants.
Absolutely. What's your name?
Yeah, Pastor James. Pastor James Destiny.
Thank you, Pastor James.
There are about close to 600 migrants at the hotel.
Yes.
There are about 130 children under 3 years old. There are a lot of maternal problems that we providing food for them 3 days a week because they cannot eat the food at the hotel. So there's a myriad of problems that perhaps we could talk on a personal basis on
Absolutely.
what's going on at the hotel in Taunton, Mass.
Yes. First of all, thank you for what you have been doing at the Taunton Hotel. I think that, you know, I don't want this to be the way out type of answer, but the reality is that I've been in this role for 1 month, and that the Office for Refugees and Immigrants has been staffed now with new leadership to exactly solve a lot of problems that speak to what you just said. And so to me, the message that sends is that the administration has noticed that, and that we are now here to assess all of that and to make sure that the opportunities that there are out there are matched with the needs. And if the opportunities, if the needs are from Haitian communities, then the opportunities need to be matched not just with Haitian serving organizations, but with organizations that have the skills to support that. And that is cultural, that is linguistic, but we also have to talk about legal, right? You know, a friend of mine asked me, if I move to the United States, what's the first thing I should do? And I was like, get an immigration attorney. Why? Because as soon as you land here and you're able to understand what is your path, if you have any opportunities or path in terms of legal status, then you're able to expedite your opportunity towards a work authorization for those that are eligible. We know immigration is extremely complex. And why do I mention that? Because our office, one of the first programs that we're starting with this new leadership team, and the rest of the office that we're bringing them up to do this expanded services, not just for refugees, but for all immigrants, is a legal program where the legal serving organizations can have the funding to support, to go to these hotels, to go to Taunton, just like, you know, South Costa Legal have been going to Taunton and to Kingston for weeks and weeks. You probably run into them there. To make sure that they are assessed, that they get a real consultation with an expert, not an notario, and are able to receive, to work towards their work authorization if they're eligible.
Hi. Specifically with asking which agencies are contracted with the state of Massachusetts to welcome Haitians, and also how can they already establish Haitian community collaboratives with some of the other agencies? Also, like how when there's also Haitian grassroots organizations that, like we said, aren't a part of that conversation, and aren't kind of being brought to the table, like we've mentioned before. So how, again, how is that disconnect going? Which specific organizations are there, and how can we collab with them to be able to get that funding where it needs to be and to be able to help the immigrants?
Yes, and this is how it starts. And that's why, you know, in my message to Carlene, you can read it, it says, I hope you notice that I'm asking to come there today, and you're all asking me to come there 5 days from now. Because those 5 days for me were very important to get this started a lot faster, because I recognize that this was needed, that these organizations should be at the table, and that these voices are the ones that we are not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it's absolutely important. I mean, I'm coming here with a cry of help. We absolutely need you. We need the work, but we also recognize that you have been doing this work for month and month. So we also cannot burden your organizations by tasking you to do things that you're already doing if you don't have all the resources available. So we need to get there. About Cuban Haitian entrance.
Yeah.
I am 100% with you in that. However, there is a process for that, right? And in order to follow that process, in order to make sure that they are given that status, then they need to go through an enrollment process with a refugee resettlement organization, and they need to go through a consultation to make sure that they have like all the status that, you know, what type of status they qualify for and what is going to serve them better. And so that's why the legal component was one of our priorities to get started on. Here's, and you know, I'm just being really honest here and really transparent, because there's no, first, I'm not gonna fool any of you. And second, again, there's no way any of you are gonna help me if you cannot trust me. In terms of Cuban Haitian status, the resettlement agencies for the last year and a half have seen the number of refugees double and sometimes triple. Right now, the staff at ORI that has been doing all the resettlement support to providers, they used to have about 2,000 to serve. Now it's 4,000, and it's about to reach 5,000. So one of the, you know, that is one of the questions that I asked when we started. Like, why can't we just like do it this way? Therefore, they're gonna be able to get the same as all the resettlement refugees receive. But the speed in which, and the influx and high numbers that we're seeing, and the speed in which they're coming, and how many refugees are coming from all over, including Haiti, we're still not equipped to scale at that level that fast. And you know, I was tasked with scaling our office so that we can do a lot of that, and we can ensure that resettlement agencies also can scale to be able to support all of this. But then, you know, this is like my priority number one as I walk into the role, and then I walk into a crisis like this, and then I walk into a crisis like this. So we're really trying to do a lot of these things at the same time. It's just gonna take time, but I am, you know, hearing you loud and clear on all of those. So you do have my commitment that we are really trying to work through this, and that we're gonna need your voices at the table for that. But right now, it's two things, right? How do we walk the long marathon, and how do we run the sprint? At the Family Welcome Center, and we couldn't find a single hotel And these families, we had no idea at that point how we were gonna house them. There was an organization that was called by the state troopers, because that's the type of relationship they have with the state troopers, that they had told the state troopers, if there's ever anyone sleeping at the airport, call us, and they can sleep in our offices. We're gonna take them and we're gonna figure out what to do with them. This organization is called La Colaborativa. They're in Chelsea. They're very large. They've grown a whole lot after a lot of the work that they did during the pandemic. And as soon as this organization was called by the state troopers and found out that we were still on the verge of not having where to house these 15 families on a night and this happened like 3 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, they called us and they were like, if you don't find hotels right now, send them to me, and we're gonna welcome every single family right now. This woman stopped, the director stopped what she was doing in her family, which is going through a lot, and came to her organization, called all of her staff, asked them if they could come in an emergency, called all the people in Chelsea to support, and including the reverend of one of the Haitian churches there, who was fabulous and supported with a lot of translation, and started cooking for the families the next day and bringing Haitian meals to all of these families in the heart of Everett. One of the reverends of the churches in Everett was cooking for the families in Everett that were placed in this hotel. They were placed at that moment, at that night. They ended up finding hotel rooms in like 5 different places. And then little by little, this organization was able to secure that hotel to turn it into an EA shelter. They stepped up in 24 hours to try to become an EA shelter in order to serve all the Haitian families that were coming through their door. And again, was this planned that way? No. Is it ideal that an organization that is serving Latinos had to step up and be the one doing it? No. But that's how it happened, and that's who stepped up. And those are the one. And the one thing that she immediately did was to call the local Haitian reverend to tell her what was happening, involve her in the conversation, involve her in some of the decision making, and she offered to cook Haitian meals for all of them. And she did for several days. So, and right now, many of them, and what they do is they call the Haitian restaurant to have the food served. It's really large number. There's 77 families right now there. More. There are 86 and one more today. 87 as of tonight. 87 Haitian families that they're serving. And when they call some of the Haitian restaurants, they don't have enough capacity to bring food for 87 families 3 times a day. And some of them do. They have hired many Haitian restaurants. They hire Haitian-owned restaurants as well. I know because they called Lady at Villa Merepa in West Roxbury, 31. He was one of the ones that delivered meals there, even though it is a Venezuelan restaurant, but it's Haitian-owned. And they hire the ones that are around the corner in Everett. And they hire also the Spanish-speaking restaurants, because no one restaurant can serve that amount of capacity. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened that night. And you know, I was in one meeting maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And in that meeting, I went again with my heart wide open and full honesty to tell them the reality of what we were facing and the crisis that we were facing. And 2 weeks after that meeting, in asking them for specific help, in some of them asking, do you need host families? And me saying, yes, we need host families. Do you need, what is it that the state needs? And I'm, they're sharing exactly what we needed. 2 weeks after, what I received from them was the suggestion that they have been drafting a letter to the administration for XYZ, because they wanted to suggest XYZ. And I was very disappointed, because I'm talking about a crisis with real needs, and you're asking me for numbers that I understand can be matched with support, but I also need to know what is the support that you're offering? What is the support that you're willing to do? Which one of your organizations is going to be able to turn into an emergency assistance shelter in the next week or two? Which one of your organizations can become the Elliott that you just mentioned in Marlboro? Because Elliott said yes, and they're serving that hotel. Is any of your organizations going to be the next Elliott that is going to be ready to serve this hotel and enter a contract with the state for the funds to be there to support the Haitian families? So how, I need a list of all of your organizations. I can set up a way in which you all can receive the training that is needed or the information that is needed to understand what does it entail to enter a contract with the state to become an emergency shelter provider. Because it is not easy. There's a lot of rules and regulations. You have to follow the book. It's the shelter system. You have to operate the same rules that the other shelters operate based on. And I agree, you are the best ones to serve your community. And none of them is gonna take, no one is gonna take that away from you. And we're ready for all of you to step up and sign contract with the state to do this. But me sharing on a weekly basis the number of Haitian families and where they are is not gonna solve this problem. What I need is the number of all of your Haitian restaurants contacts so that I can call them tomorrow and not experience the waste of time that I experienced today when I called them and I couldn't get a single one of them to deliver 15 meals to Saugus. And I'm not trying to bash any of them. They're busy. They could only know what they're serving. But you have those contacts and on your phone. I literally walked down the building today in my office, and Eugene, who's the one that serves in the entry in our building, is Haitian. And I was like, Eugene, do you know any restaurant owner? Can you please connect me? And he gave me a paper with this Haitian restaurant owner to call. And I was like, no, but I can't just call as Cristina. You need to let me know if I can use your name, if you can call him ahead and tell him, this is serious. We're gonna need a lot of meals. You need to be ready for this and for the delivery. And these are paid meals. 500 Haitian families were placed either in emergency assistance shelter or temporary emergency shelter or hotel rooms. And I can, they're in Saugus, they're in Northborough, they're in Everett, they're in Marlboro, they're in Taunton, they're in Westboro, they're in Everett, I said already, they are in Mansfield. We have 15 families, we need help. Yes, can I give you the list and match it? Yes, but it would be a lot more helpful for me to know who are those restaurant owners that would say yes to serving 15 families? Who are those churches that would cook? My family on the 4th of July, we couldn't find a single restaurant that would do it. I went myself to Market Basket, bought 12 chickens, and bought cans of beans, and bought packets of rice. My husband cooked the rice while I cooked the beans, and my mother-in-law put the plantains in and we made the salad, and we served, and I called my friends, and we went to the hotel, and we served 100 meals to 3 different hotels. This is what it takes.
It's hard work. We understand.
I'm not complaining about hard work. I'm loving it.
One of these part of the solution.
Exactly.
With
So
all of some of the pastors, this started since the clergy breakfast. Okay. So when we met on Thursday, it's what exactly can we do? How we can build up networks, whether it be mental health, whether it be housing, whether it be education.
An info session, and they put it together, and that's why I wanted also to talk here last Thursday, because that info session could have happened already with all of you. But now that I'm leaving, now that we had this conversation, I really would love to have the names of the organizations, one specific point person per organization. Doesn't have to be the but one point person, a phone numbers, mainly a phone number, and then maybe a way to, maybe I can send emails to Carlene and she can send them to everybody so that we can invite everybody to an info session to learn this. But this is not for everybody. Right. Getting into a contract with the state is I'm talking about serving 70 families in an entire shelter system, right? So you have to also make sure that this is something that you want to listen into.
Right.
Yes,
and I appreciate that. And I think even for a crisis, we need to talk about barriers too, right? How do we kind of expedite processes and how do we remove barriers for crisis, right? That we need to kind of circumvent those situations. I own a mental health practice, an outpatient mental health practice. I've been at the Taunton Hotel, at the Clarion Hotel in Taunton, really going in there, trying to do some crisis stabilization work over there. And unfortunately, I began going over there once a week after a crisis or an incident had already occurred over there. I initially went in thinking, let me go in, find all the fires. There's 600 people there, right? Pro bono. I think originally I went in there, let me find all the fires, and let me point them out so I can wrap some services around them and kind of go from there, right? We got to start somewhere, right? And I have amazing clinicians who've been able to volunteer their time, but it hasn't been consistent because it's pro bono, right? We all have lives. I run a practice. We all very, very busy, but this is a call of action for me, right? What I've been met with over there is a lot of gatekeeping, right? And I know there's an agency in there that is contracted to work and do some mental health work that hasn't been in there because they don't have the capacity. They don't have the language capacity. They don't have the cultural capacity. So, and luckily the state and the case management agency has found a lot of value with the work that I've been doing pro bono, right? And so they're checking in with me, and I've been very transparent about we need to make this more robust, right? I can bring the personnel. I mapped out the entire situation of what's needed, but we're getting a lot of resistance, right? When it comes to the resources, not when it comes to the actual labor, because I still show up on Fridays, right? My question to you after all of that is, what is the process for these migrants right now that the state has in place to assess them initially in terms of their mental health? Because we talk about that being an extreme need, but I haven't heard anything about what's actually been done, right? I went in there, my practice went in there with a coalition behind us to go in and do some work, because time is of the essence, and you pointed that out. But I don't know, is there a system in place? And if there isn't, I would love for us to kind of utilize this resource, because it is a program, it is work that we have been doing and can roll out and can inform a lot of the work. It's important. We don't assess it the same way. I've been in this field licensed for over a decade. We don't assess the Haitian migrants the same way that we would do an American child that speaks English and is of this culture and has a support system. It's very, very different. That work is very, very specialized. So I don't know if there is anything in place, but if I needed to kind of explain the value of the work that we're doing, that was just my little piece.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Before passing, we just want to make it clear that this meeting, it's not about getting a contract from the state. We got all the most of the Haitian organization together so that we could make a difference in the life of Haitian refugees, etc. So those who have organizations who want contract from the state, so be it. But we at AFAB, that's not what we are looking for. We are looking for a commitment from the Haitian community to work together as a group so that we can respond to the crisis going on right now with our Haitian brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do see that loud and clear that there is that commitment. There is that commitment in you, there is that commitment in every single one of you that are talking about this, and I appreciate it, and I think, this is exactly how we start. And I know some of you have already started and have way ahead, and we need to tap on that expertise, and we need to tap on that knowledge, and we need to make sure that it is connected with the right resources to ensure that families are receiving the mental health support. One of the complexities of all of it is also if a family is going from one place to the other, to the other, to the other, because you know, the hotel was not able to be gotten like for a longer period of time, and then they have to go to Nubian DTA, and then some of them go to the EA shelter, but some of them go back to Family Welcome Center and start the cycle again, and some of them, if they arrive after 8, they end up going to the Resident Worker Center, to the Boston Medical Center, and then the Boston Medical Center sends them to the airport, and all of these things are happening in real time as I am speaking to all of you right now. Then you know, the main thing is really the basic necessities, and then because how can you provide like real mental health support when they're moving from one place to another and trying to serve their families, to support their families like in the bare minimum. So it is very complex, but I'd love to talk to you offline on how we can create that path. I think that's very right, and I felt exactly that pain when last year because of, you know, they landed in Martha's Vineyard for political reason, then it became like nation and worldwide news, and I'm like, where have you all been? This has been happening, this keeps happening, and you know, and it will continue to happen, and how is it that is now being like blown out of proportion and considered a crisis, right? But I think that in that moment in time, we were under a different administration, and right now, this administration is really taking serious to build the pathway so that we're not reacting all the time, but we have the infrastructure to support immigrants as they come to our state, and also turn all of the conversation into an opportunity. Our state saw about a big exodus of people from Massachusetts during the pandemic. A whole lot of people left the state, and that is something that you can hear our governor mention many times, that, you know, that exodus needs to be matched with the with new people coming, with like, I don't know, tourism and all of these initiatives. And one of those is immigrants. We have them right here. They're coming right here. It's a great opportunity to make sure that all the workforce and all the contributions and all the infrastructure that is needed is here for them. And we need to step up to that, and we're way too late for that. But you know, you have my commitment that we're gonna work to get there, and I need people like you at the table. And you know, we're also hiring right now. I think the only one posted is for an executive assistant, but we'll continue to open positions and share them broadly through Carlene or through any networks or listservs that you all have, because I agree, you need to be at the table, and we need to build this infrastructure for the long term and not for reactions like, oh, this is new. But you know, we've been doing this for at least 12, 15 years, right, Carlene? I lost Carlene. There you go. And others. And you know, we can't continue to react without infrastructure. You know, and I also, it would be great to know that there's a listserv with all the emails and all the name of the organizations, etc., so that I can tap into that as well, because not all the organizations do everything. I'm sure there's some expertise.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's the whole idea of us being some kind of referral.
However,
especially
as I mentioned,
when it comes to restaurants,
yes,
or everyone else, so that we can have that understanding on where the assistance is needed, what type of assistance is needed, and make it as concrete as possible, so that it doesn't get overwhelmed and people going all over the place. Oh, let me call so-and-so, let me call so-and-so, let me call so-and-so. But when it comes to the fact that you're in contact with Colleen, you are in contact with the right person, because she absolutely knows the various organizations and what we do and what we can do. So me, I'm all about policies and regulations. So if you tell us what are the policies we need, what do we need to do, that's all you need to do. Email us and we'll get it done.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So, good evening, everyone. Eduardo Neville from the Mass Department of Public Health. I oversee the Community Engagement Unit, so we've been working really closely with a subset of 17 Haitian-serving organizations, actually, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the things, actually, I just had an email to send to you, and I think that, I'll touch base with you afterward, because I think that it behooves us, actually, to really begin to align a lot of the streams of work that at the EHS level are being coordinated. There's a lot of work. We are in an emergency situation, as you've seen. It's been growing, and you've been telling us this, and certainly we are in a different political space where I think that there is a different traction for how we can respond. So initially, it's been about figuring out, what's needful with the families, putting them into some kind of temporary housing. We're in the process of developing a set of a health assessment screenings. We're going to be deploying to the shelters where the families are. We're going to be prioritizing families for children, particularly mobilizing mobile vaccine providers, and also ensuring that there is some level of medical interpreter that we can deploy, hopefully community health workers that are from the agencies that speak Haitian Creole, and probably that they already have relationships with you all, and if they don't have them, that we can start making sure that we build them. So there is, I guess, to the person that had asked before, having some sort of update. I think that this is helpful for us to come to some of these forums actually, and we would be more than willing to let you know, in a much more coordinated fashion what's happening. And while for some people numbers might be helpful, but also more importantly what's been done and how this is being staged. So we're stabilizing families, and now we're ensuring that there's going to be some level of assessment, as you were asking, and ensuring, and then to transition them back into community. So I think that this is, long in the coming. We're also sort of like at a moment in time where we don't have a state budget yet. So we should be having some sort of work over the next couple of days or weeks, hopefully. But we should definitely connect because it behooves us. Thank you.
Our office, as I mentioned, was focused on a different line of work with the resources that were only available from ORR. So they were federal and they were tailored to resettlement of refugees. And now that I've started a month ago, I'm tasked with expanding that office. So in order for me to provide a contact person or to answer to all of the emails, or to, I need to continue going through Carlene to be the point person of this task force so that we can have organized communication. But as we continue to expand, and I'll continue to share job postings that we might have, and getting the right people in the team, we'll have more capacity to assign someone to make sure that to be the point person for all of this. But in terms of like the concrete needs, as I mentioned, I would love to get through Carlene a list of those restaurants that will be ready to support some of the families and be paid for their services, that can do delivery to multiple areas around the state. So don't be shy on which ones you're talking about, and don't Google where they are. Just send me, put their restaurants that are going to be able to do delivery and to do large number of meals. And that's one. Two, I hope that you can send me through her as well a list of all the organizations in the room today, all the names and the contact numbers, so that we can convene all of you once we have a larger staff to be able to not just share the numbers, but also explain the different points in time when all of these numbers have been collected and how the things are happening. And I will be, I heard loud and clear the needs for the numbers. I understand why they're needed. What I was trying was to make the case that this wouldn't just be the only next step. And I will, make sure that you get it through Carlene as well.